DrUmarJohnson, the guy that for the last 10 years has not built brick one of a school he's collected money from.
Welcome back to Black News Tonight. I'm here with DrUmarJohnson, and we still got a whole lot of ground to cover. I want to get right back to it. Dr. Umar, you wrote something on Instagram the other day. You said there is a growing male YouTubian community that is creating a sector dedicated to slandering and criticizing black women who don't emulate Eurocentric standards of beauty and success. Unfortunately, many sisters have become prey for these coons due to an unconscious need for male validation. Black women, you don't need a man to validate your worth. Many people took that as a shot at Kevin Samuels, the online advice giver, relationship expert. He, of course, responded in a video directly addressed to you. What were you trying to communicate with this? I don't want to assume that you were talking about him, although he certainly took it that way. One, were you talking about him? And two, what were you trying to communicate there?
Yes, sir. My comments were not particularly directed to that gentleman. And in fact, he had made some slanderous comments towards me in a video that he had put together a couple of weeks ago. I saw that video, but I did not respond to it. I make it a point, when at all possible, to not respond to individuals whose intellectual competence I consider to be far below my own. But the message that I put out with regard to the quote that you just read speaks to a growing trend amongst the African-American male community, Dr. Hill, that seeks to blame black women for many of the trials, tribulations, failures of black males. And I don't think it's right. It almost reminds me of what I saw in the early black radical feminist movement, where I saw a lot of sisters making black men the scapegoat for problems that white supremacy had deliberately engineered in the black community. And now it seems like things have come full circle, where we have a movement now known as the manosphere that wants to make the black woman the scapegoat and make her the blame for all things going wrong in the black community. My message is simple. The black woman is not at fault. The black man is not at fault. There are some things that each group needs to do better, but we need each other. The black family is under attack, and we need to save the black family. It's not about scapegoating the women. It's not about scapegoating the men. It's about recognizing that the American white power structure wants to destroy the black family. And that's why you see so much attention being paid to the black woman, or so much attention being paid to the black man or the black child. But rarely do you see enough attention paid to the black family. And the reason you don't see a lot of attention paid to the black family is if you want to save the family, you automatically have to save the black man, which means you have to do something about mass incarceration, miseducation, psychiatric medication, psychological frustration. Suicide, for example, Dr. Hill, is the second leading cause of death for black males 1 to 19. And it is the third leading cause of death for black males 20 to 44. But that's not being discussed. So they would rather focus on either gender or the child as opposed to the family unit. Because if you focus on the family unit, you have to save all black people.
And so recently, I've been getting a lot of clips from young brothers on YouTube who are in the quote-unquote life coaching sector, as they call it. And as you know, life coaching is an unregulated quote-unquote profession. And a lot of these clips that I've been getting has contained content that is extremely derogatory to the black woman, extremely derogatory. Mm-hmm. And so I've decided to speak up on behalf of black women because I didn't like the narrative that was being put out there by these uncredentialed, uncertified life coaches. And I didn't name anybody's name, although one of them did name my name, and he made some very disparaging remarks about me on his YouTube platform a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But I didn't name anybody's name because it's not about one person. It's a movement to basically attack the black woman by some black men who feel that the black woman has done nothing but sabotage, belittle, and disgrace their lives. Mm. And to be clear, Baba David, black women are as much as at fault as are black men. I want to be very clear. That is one of the premises of my approach to male-female relationship conflict in the black community, the women are as much at fault as are the men. I do not believe black women are saints. As a father of 2 daughters, I know for a fact black women are not saints. And I look at some of the things that the mothers of my children have done to me. Okay, so I know that they're not saints. And I even look at what their mothers have supported them in doing to me. So you're talking intergenerational dysfunctional behavior from black women and black men. But here's the point, Baba David. Women need to be held accountable by women. Mm-hmm. Men need to be held accountable by men. Mm-hmm. The problem we have is the men are holding the women accountable, and the women are holding the men accountable. The problem with that is we often speak through our pain and not through our wisdom. Mm-hmm. And when we speak through our pain, Baba David, we end up exaggerating what the opposite sex has done, and we end up underreporting what we are responsible for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So part of the solution to this is women have to be more accountable to other women, men have to be more accountable to other men, and more importantly, what we are lacking is a council of elders that is full of wisdom, full of integrity, and who themselves are not carrying the scars of intergenerational black male-female relationship conflict.
Well, I know Amos Wilson had a quote that, one of the ways to destroy a nation is to have the men fighting against the women fighting against the men. And that's what it seems like is going on now, And I am not exempt to this because I've had some situations where I just knew that I was the best loving person in the world. And it seems like some women just have it in them to be against black men. It's like I read Shahrazad Ali's book, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. And when I read that book, that just messed up my relationship with women because it reveals some of the things and the tricks and the deceits that women come to you with. And once you recognize that, it's like white supremacy. Once you recognize white supremacy, you know the BS when you hear it, when you see it. And so and you can't tolerate it like you may have if you didn't know better. And so I've had that problem because I don't tolerate a whole lot of nonsense, and a lot of women today, they come with a lot of nonsense, and I ain't trying to put them down because men have a lot of nonsense too. But it seems like it's so ingrained in our community now. Men fighting women, women fighting men. I was watching Waist Deep with Tyrese the other day, and the brother beat up this woman, and Tyrese had beat her up tomorrow. Don't you never hit a black woman? Don't you never hit a woman? And I'm saying, brothers out here hitting on women, but women out here, trying to destroy men at the same time. What can we do?
Well, here's the one of the many points that I have to make. We have to be mindful that our children are watching us. Mm-hmm. The young children as well as the older children, they're watching us. There is no censor on YouTube. So when a 8, 9, 10-year-old girl goes on YouTube and she sees grown black men attacking, demeaning, and berating grown black women, that's going to affect her perception of black men. And when a black man, boy, turns on YouTube 7, 8, 9, 10 and sees a black man disparaging a black woman, that's going to impact his perception of the black woman. And from a behavioral psychology perspective, I want to totally reject and destroy this notion that excessive negative criticism motivates people to do better. Nothing could be further than the truth. Nothing could be further than the truth. In fact, one of my many expertises in the realm of education and school psychology is teaching parents and educators how to program for positive behavior by rewarding that which you want to see, not by punishing that which you don't want to see. Because when you punish that which you don't want to see, Baba David, you put attention on the negative. But if you don't put attention on the positive will never grow. The point that I'm making is these brothers, many of whom I personally believe, without demeaning anyone, I think most of them are operating from the pain that they have experienced in their own households of origin, the pain that they have experienced from their own parental unit, the pain that they have experienced from women that they have dated. I think there's a lot of trauma there. I think there's emotional trauma, physical trauma, sexual trauma, dysfunctional family trauma, and I think that they are speaking from their hurt. Hurt people can only hurt people. Hurt people cannot heal people. And too often we have this assumption that a hurt person can heal. If you are not healed yourself, you cannot possibly provide healing to another people. So what you're seeing is a generation of damaged, dysfunctional male life coaches who are trying to speak life into women when they only have a narrative of death to offer. And you see the same thing from women. It's not just the men. You have this radical black feminist sector on YouTube who makes the black man the scapegoat for every problem the black woman has. And now you have this quote-unquote manosphere on YouTube, which has grown out of a reaction to the radical black feminist YouTube sector. And so the men are imitating the women. And so now they're making the black woman the scapegoat for everything wrong with the black man and with the black family. The truth of the matter is, Baba David, is that we are equally at fault. The one recommendation I would have to these brothers, if they really want to see female behavior change, then what you should not do is spend all your time talking about what the women don't have. Because most of these so-called life coaches, Baba David, they operate from a deficit perspective. They're coming from a deficit perspective. Their whole narrative is what's wrong with you, why you don't have a man. And most of the assessments, Baba David, are extremely loaded towards superficial characteristics: income, education, body type, how you dress, your hair, very superficial types of characteristics, not the things that ultimately matter. What is your perspective on the black family? How do you see the father as playing a role in your child's life? What is your role as a female nurturer to other young sisters growing up? The real questions that need to be asked are ignored for this superficial, ghettoized checklist for what black men who are operating at a low root chakra narrative are wanting to see from their women. They need to pay more attention to the positive, Baba David. In other words, if I was a part of that sector, and I am not, I'm way above that. I'm focused on the liberation of African people. I do not spend my life entertaining people for YouTube likes and for YouTube views. We have too many problems in the black community for so many of our young folks, young adults, able-bodied men and women, to be dedicating their entire life 20, 21, 22 hours out of the day to YouTube videos, a total waste of time. But Baba David, my recommendation to these brothers is, number one, get some healing. Get some healing, get some therapy, get some counseling. You cannot heal while you are hurt. And number two, what you should do is honor those sisters who are exemplary mothers and women. Honor the women who are modeling the behavior that you feel is appropriate. In other words, don't operate from a deficit perspective. Operate from a perspective of abundance that says, we want to honor you, sister, because the way you raise your children, the way you stand by your man, we think that's the way other sisters should operate, and we want to hold you up as a model. Get away from the negative and let's embrace the positive.
I know that, back in the days during the Black Power movement, when the black, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, people were wearing afros, it seemed like there was a stronger love connection between the brothers and the sisters. But then society boarded this big wedge and put it right between them and started making them go against each other. I think it was intentional on purpose. As influencers, they were influencing through the media, through the social media, through the records, television, movies. They did these things to plant the seeds in the minds of black people that we were at war with each other.
Absolutely, Baba David. Absolutely. The smallest unit of existence in traditional African culture is the family. There is no individual separate from the family. The family is the basic level of human existence. That's why everyone in the same home would have the same last name. That's not a European thing. That's an African thing, because that last name is what binds us as one. My point for making that inference is to say that the American white power structure knows as well that if they want to destroy black civilization, if they want to destroy the black community, they have to target the black family. And there's no better way to destroy the black family than to turn the black woman against the black man and the black man against the black woman. Baba David, let us be clear. The U.S. government, the American white power structure, has no interest in the success or survival of the black family at all. That is why it is introducing so many other dysfunctional types of family systems into our community. This is why they're getting to our children, Baba David, at the age of 5, 6, and 7, first grade, second grade, third grade, indoctrinating them with same-sex relationships, bisexual relationships, transgender relationships, asexual relationships, interracial relationships. Look at all of the different types of family systems that this dysfunctional society is bombarding our children with. And they're doing it, Baba David, to children who are not yet at the age where they crave reproduction. They're not at the age where they crave sexual intimacy with the opposite sex. So what is the purpose of introducing instruction on abnormal, ahistorical family systems when these children are not even interested in procreating? The urge to have sex, Baba David, comes from a deeper urge to procreate and to reproduce. We get caught up in the carnal side of reproduction, failing to recognize that that urge is a spiritual calling. It is a calling from God. It is a calling from nature for you to reproduce yourself. We get caught up in the lust, but we don't get caught up in the life and the longevity of that craving. So the point that I'm trying to make is America is going to confuse black children as much as it possibly can and dissuade them away from traditional African heterosexual family systems. And unfortunately, Baba David, this ridiculous war, this civil war of the genders that is taking place in our community between the reactionary black man and the reactionary black woman is also helping America destroy the black family because it is motivating our children to look to alternative ways of creating their families of the future because they don't want to be a part of this toxic, emotionally charged, abusive narrative that both the black man and the black woman is pushing right now.
Well, I know they're trying to normalize those things that are not normal, and I do want to say that I don't think that that type of influence is affecting not just the black family, but is affecting families in general. You know, because white people are being affected as well. But I'm not concerned about them. I'm concerned about our families, and because I know that at one time we ruled the world, and they trying to disrupt us now with all this nonsense. But I believe that we are coming again to be on top and rule the world again. It may not be next year, year after next, but we're coming around to it because things are changing.
Absolutely, Baba David, and it is so important for our people to understand that the United States power structure don't care about gay black people any more than it cares about straight black people. It doesn't care any more about a transgender than it cares about a heterosexual male or female. The issue is how can we sow division against the black man and black woman? How can we influence black children to not reproduce themselves? The entire focus of this anti-black family agenda that the United States government has is to basically destroy the black community's ability to reproduce itself. And we are playing into this narrative by constantly getting on social media before the world and berating one another. Baba David, we are the only people who do this to the level that it is being done. Sure, you can find some white platforms where white males are berating white women and white women are berating white males. You can find some platforms where you might find some Asian males berating Asian women and vice versa, but it is not a main topic of discussion. It is not a main object of entertainment as it is in the American African community. The constant slander by black men of black women and the constant slander by black women of black men is a major sector in social network for black America. And we are the only men in this country who will go out in public and slander our women, slander the mothers of our children, slander the feminine principle in our community. Nobody else is doing that. It almost reminds me of us also, Baba David, being the only people who will fight for the right to keep the most negative and demeaning and disrespectful term ever used to refer to us, the N-word, and we will fight for the right to use that with one another and try to turn it into a term
of endearment.
We are doing the exact same thing when it comes to the destruction of the image of the black woman. The black man should never be on the list. The black man should never allow himself to be used as a weapon to destroy the public image of the black woman. We already got gangster rappers doing that. Mm-hmm. We already got reality shows doing that. Mm-hmm. We got sitcoms doing that. We got magazines and movies doing that. We don't need the black man using his amateurish social network platform to lend a voice to the destruction of the public image of the black female. Any man who is okay with that, in my opinion, isn't worthy of being called a man.
I know I've seen some of those reality TV shows, and I don't watch them much, but sometimes I may come across them, and you see the women fight each other, the men fighting the women cussing out the men. And I say to people often, I say, you know, when people around the world get an opinion about black people, they look at TV, and they see how black people act and conduct themselves on TV, and that's how they think that black people are, because they may not have ever met a black person, may not have never come in contact with a black person. So their opinion of a black person is what they see on TV, and that is one of the things that is destroying us and creating an attitude towards black people by outsiders. Because when they come in, they already got a preconceived notion about what black people are.
Absolutely. Remember this, Baba David. A people who do not honor themselves will do anything for money. And the problem that we have as black people in America is we have no honor. There is no code of ethics for us to operate, to protect each other, to look out for each other. And because we have no honor, we will accept payment to do anything against one another. There is nothing that is too low that the black man or black woman will not entertain it if they are paid the right price. Wow. And that is what's wrong with us. There is no standard. There is no code of honor for black men or for black women. We do have some exceptions.
I was going to say, that's what I was coming. I said, there are some exceptions because I honor the code of conduct.
Exactly, because the exceptions don't change the narrative.
That is true.
And that's the problem with the exceptions, because when you look at the general state of the black community, you do not see an agenda to heal the black family. You don't see that. You see an agenda, to desecrate the black family. You see an agenda to attack the black family, and you see an unwritten agenda that basically says there is no reason to save the black family. And that's why you're seeing so much attention being paid to interracial couples, so much attention being paid to biracial couples, whether it's hetero or whether it is homo, whether it is traditional or whether it is contemporary. None of the examples of healthy families being projected into the minds of our children are of black men and black women living a traditional heterosexual life. And that spells a threat to the survival of the black family as an organic, cultural, historical, anthropological, spiritual, and political unit.
Well, I say the only way to get back is to get black.
I would agree with that.